Find sine of x over 2, cosine of x over 2, tangent of x over 2 from sine of x equals 3 over 4, where x is an angle between 0 and 90 degrees, exclusive. Because we know something about x, we have the exact value for sine of x, which is 3 over 4. We are asked to evaluate sine, cosine, and tangent of half of x. So we will use the half angle formula. Sine of x over 2 is plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of x over 2. And that is the formula for the half angle formula. We know the sine of x, which is 3 over 4, but we do not know cosine of x. From there, we should be able to find cosine of x. We can do this using the Pythagorean theorem or the triangle approach. Cosine squared of x plus sine squared of x is the Pythagorean identity. Isolate cosine squared of x. We have cosine squared of x equals 1 minus sine squared of x. And so cosine squared of x equals 1 minus sine of x is given 3 over 4. Simplifying this, we have 1 minus 9 over 16, which is 16 over 16 minus 9 over 16, which is 7 over 16. And so cosine squared of x is 7 over 16. Cosine of x is plus or minus the square root of 7 over the square root of 16, which is 4. But x is only in the first quadrant from 0 to 90 degrees, where cosine of x is positive. So we know for sure that cosine of x is positive root 7 over 4 in this case. There's no need to use plus or minus. Also, if x is between 0 degrees and 90 degrees, then x over 2 has to be between half of 0 and half of 90, or x is between 0 and 45 degrees, which is the first half of the first quadrant. Sine of x over 2 is therefore positive because x over 2 is still in the first quadrant, and again in the first quadrant sine is positive, so we have sine of x over 2 equals positive, no need to write plus or minus in this case now, over 2, 1 minus, where cosine of x is root 7 over 4. We found it earlier. We still need to simplify this. The denominator is 2, and in the numerator, the common denominator is 4. 1 is 4 over 4. And so we have 4 minus root 7 over 4 over 2, which is 4 minus root 7 over 8. This is the answer, but if we want to simplify this further, this is the square root of 4 minus root 7 over 2 root 2. And if we want to simplify this further, we would multiply root 2 over root 2 to rationalize the denominator. This will give us root 2 times 4 is 8 minus 2 root 7 over 4. We are given that sine of x equals 3 over 4, where x is in the first quadrant. We found that sine of x over 2 is the square root of 8 minus 2 root 7 over 4. To find cosine of x over 2, we can use the Pythagorean theorem, or we can still use the half angle formula. Cosine of x over 2 is plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of x over 2. Remember that if x is in the first quadrant, then half of x is still in the first quadrant, where cosine is positive, so we do not need to write plus or minus. the denominator of this square root is 2. We rewrite 1 plus, and we found cosine of x. Remember earlier we found cosine of x to be root 7 over 4. So this is the square root of 2 in the denominator, 4 plus root 7 over 4. And so this is the square root of 4 plus root 7 over 8. Similar to what we did earlier, this is the square root of 4 plus root 7 over the square root of 8, where the square root of 8 is the square root of 4 times 2, which is 2 the square root of 2. We then multiply the square root of 2 top and bottom to rationalize the denominator. The denominator is 4. The numerator, we put all of these under one root. So we have 4 plus root 7 times 2. We bring the 2 and 4 plus root 7 underneath the same root. We will end up with cosine of x over 2 equals the square root of 8 plus 2 root 7 over 4. The difference here is that earlier with sine of x over 2 we have a minus, and with cosine of x over 2 we have a plus. We found that sine of x over 2 equals the square root of 8 minus 2 root 7 over 4, and cosine of x over 2 equals the square root of 8 plus 2 root 7 over 4, given that sine of x equals 3 over 4, where x is between 0 and 90 degrees. To find tangent of x over 2, we can use half-angle formula for tangent, but we can just simply use the definition of tangent. Tangent of x over 2 is sine of x over 2 over cosine of x over 2, as long as we use the same angle, in this case x over 2. We do this because we found both information for cosine and sine of x over 2. Sine of x over 2 is the square root of 8 minus 2 root 7 over 4. And cosine of x over 2 is the square root of 8 plus 2 root 7 over 4. Simplifying this, we have the square root of 8 minus 2 root 7 over the square root of 8 plus 2 root 7. And most likely, we can just leave the answer in this form. This is one of the few instances where we can have the radical in the denominator.